To be informed of what's happening around the world and in Sri Lanka, we report, you decide. Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit. Before we take a look at your news in detail, first, your headlines.
Election Commission to meet to decide on the local government election. Paffrell warns of an attempt to delay the local government election indefinitely. SB hits out at US Senate Committee for its comments on Sri Lanka elections. Sunil Handunhetty elaborates why the rupee strengthened against the dollar.
ඔන්න දැන් මැරෙන්න හදනවා රුපියල ශක්තිමත් වෙලාලු නේ උදේට තෙල් තම්බලා දවල්ට තෙල් වෑංජනේ රැට ආයිත් පොල් දාලා දෙන්න.
Annual Kachativu feast to begin today.
News in detail now. Participating in the Air Force cadets and other officers passing out parade at the Trincomalee Air Force Base today, President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that a change of government can only be brought about through a parliamentary election and the street is not an option for parliament.
ඔබ මේ අධිකාරිය ලැබුණේ අවස්ථාවේදී පළමුවෙන්ම රටේ ව්‍යවස්ථාව යටතේ දියුරුම් දෙන්න සිදු වුණා. මෙතන ප්‍රසිද්ධියේ ගුවන් හමුදාවේ දියුරුමත් ප්‍රකාශ කරා.
When you passed out today, you had to take an oath under the Constitution. You also undertook an oath of the Sri Lanka Air Force in public. These two oaths underline your primary responsibility. That is to protect the Constitution and protect the country. There is no Constitution with no country. If there is no country, the Constitution is just a piece of paper. The Constitution comes into force because a country exists. The oath makes it clear that you would abide by the Constitution and the law and would be loyal to the Republic. This Constitution notes it is the Constitution of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. First, we need to protect the country. For that, we need to be a sovereign, independent and free country. In addition, we need to protect the unitary state. The administrative institutions deliver the legal acts for this country. One is the President and the Executive, Parliament and the Legislature to pass legislations, judicial power and so on. A change of government can only be brought about through a parliament. Governments can be decided only in parliament. The streets are not the alternative for a parliament. We need to protect these institutions, especially the parliament. Next, we face another issue. That is the economy. If the economy collapses completely, we will have no country. Countries with no economy are failed states. Countries with no parliament are also failed states. We need to protect these constitutional institutions and the economy. That is your responsibility. When we protect all this, we will have a country.
ආර්ථිකයත් ඒ දෙකම ආරක්ෂා කරන්න තියෙනවා. මේකයි ඔබේ වගකීම. මේ සියල්ලම ආරක්ෂා කරාම රටක් තියෙනවා.
To other news now, Sri Lanka's Election Commission will meet on Friday to decide on the local government election. The 2023 local government election was scheduled to take place on the 9th of March. However, it was postponed indefinitely due to various issues including the lack of funding. However, the Election Commission is expected to announce the next date of the local government election following Friday's meeting.
පළාත් පාලන ඡන්ද විමසීම පිළිබඳව අද මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව ඔවුන්ගේ ඉදිරි දිනය තීන්දුව කරන බව තමයි සඳහන් වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ. අපිට පැහැදිලිව පේන කාරණේ තමයි ආණ්ඩුව මේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රමය වෙනස් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ නාම යෝජනා
The People's Action for Free and Fair Elections claim that the government is trying to disregard the local government election. Paffrell Executive Director Rohana Hettiarachchi made these remarks at a press conference held earlier today. Today, the Election Commission will announce the next day to conduct the election. What is evident at this moment is that the government is trying to make changes to the method of the election. Also, there is a threat of these nominations being rejected. There are chances of the government calling for nominations through the delimitation process. Then there comes the review committee. That too will take more time. We are in a situation where both these processes will be combined. Though reducing the electorates could be termed as reasonable, that could lead to an indefinite postponement of the election. This is clear negative intervention on the part of the government on elections. They are trying to delay the elections using various means.
සාධනීය කාරණා මතු කරමින් ඒ හරහා මැතිවරණය දින නියමකින් තොරව කල් දමන්නටත් ඒ වගේම වුන් අපේක්ෂා කරන මැතිවරණය එන තෙක් මේ මැතිවරණය කල් දමා ගැනීමක උත්සාහයක ආණ්ඩුව ඉන්න බව ඊටම පැහැදිලි වෙනවා.
MPSB Disanayaka, attending the Hanguranketha Coordinating Committee meeting, commented on the statement made by the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee urging the government of Sri Lanka to hold free and fair local elections without further delays.
The US Senate can say whatever they want. Sri Lanka is not a colony of the United States of America. We do not need to listen to what the Senate says. It would be wise to tell the US to stop touring the other countries. What right do they have to comment on the Sri Lankan elections? This is not the time for that. We must try to strengthen the low-income earners and boost the economy. That is the priority. Meanwhile, State Minister Shanta Bandara said the government has no intention on delaying the election. The present government has no intention to delay the election. However, we are facing the worst economic crisis in the country's history. If the election is delayed, it is because of the lack of funds. The government has decided to prioritize funding for education, health, aid. So when that happens, there is no priority for the election. That does not mean that the election will be delayed. An election will take place. If the Election Commission decides to call for the election and if the Treasury says that they can provide funds on that day, then the election will go ahead. A question: can Sri Lanka be proud of the rupee appreciating against the US dollar? The National Executive Member of the Jatika Janabalawegaya Sunil Hadunhetty commented on the matter in Ranna.
ඔන්න දැන් මැරෙන්න හදනෝ ඩොලරක නැගලා මොකද්ද රුපියල ශක්තිමත් වෙලාලු මම බැලුවා යකෝ මොනවා හරි ටිකක් යවලා.
Now they are saying the rupee has appreciated. These are export earnings. But what is the real matter? They have received $400 million from the World Bank, a loan. There is no way of paying back the loan obtained from Bangladesh. We have to pay $55 billion as loan repayments. Every child is born a debtor. There is no way to buy medicine. 70% of today's earnings of a family is used for the education and healthcare. They spend 30% for food. People eat just to fulfill the hunger. They don't even worry about their vitamin or protein intake. This is what they have given the country over the past 75 years. The Moroto University Teachers Association claims that the rulers are trying to strangle professionals with the new tax policy while continuing to fill their pockets. Now, issuing a press release, the Moroto University's Teachers Association said that in order to increase government revenue, the government has to consider other avenues from which they could obtain taxes.
The Moroto University's Teachers Association further states that the government has ignored ways in which taxes could be obtained from import and export markets. They claim that politicians have fraudulently withdrawn the tax due on their income. Pointing out that no value is added to the taxes collected, the Moroto University Teachers Association says that the people are severely affected through issues such as shortage of medicines, increase in electricity bills, and increase in interest rates. They point out that the teaching facilities of the university system have been curtailed and students have lost the environment to study freely. The University of Moroto Association of Teachers emphasizes to the government that the tax money earned should not be used and destroyed for the personal pleasures of politicians and their cronies. Moroto University Teachers Association also requests the government to systematically direct the tax money towards the essential sectors of the country, such as health and education. It adds that the lecturers at the university are committed to take all necessary steps to achieve these objectives.
The professional trade union collective met on Friday to decide on the strike action that will be carried out next week. The meeting took place in Colombo and representatives from over 40 trade unions attended the meeting. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Medical Association and the Doctors Union Collective visited the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission today.
Recently, the Sri Lanka Medical Association and Doctors Union's Collective on Medical and Civil Rights had filed a complaint with the Human Rights Commission requesting an investigation into the violation of the human rights of citizens due to the shortage of essential drugs, the increase in the price of drugs and the restriction of surgeries. These two associations were summoned today for the hearing of the respective complaint.
රටේ ඖෂධ හිඟයක් තියෙනවා ශල්‍ය කර්ම කරන්න බෑ ශල්‍ය කර්ම සීමා කරන්න කියලා සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරයා ප්‍රකාශනකුත් කරනවා. ඒ නිදහස් සෞඛ්‍ය
There is a medicine shortage, there is no way of conducting surgeries, and the health minister is issuing statements to limit the surgeries. The responsibility of a government in a country that provides free healthcare is to provide medicines for the general public without any shortcoming. A complaint has been lodged for the breach of human rights. Considering the exorbitant increase in drug prices is a planned move to reduce the value of human life. So when there is a drug shortage, there could be sudden deaths. People who are diagnosed with long-term illnesses can get side effects. Failing to take one tablet for diabetes can cause huge complications. If it could lead to death, who is taking responsibility for this? We are reiterating the politicians and the officials who are getting paid from the public funds must work for the people instead of working towards securing their positions and benefits. That is the message that we want to communicate through the Human Rights Commission.
කටයුතු කරන්න කියන පණිවිඩය තමයි අද අපි මානව හිමිකම් කොමිසම සභාව ඉදිරියේ ඉඳලා නැවතත් සපත කරමින් මේ රටේ රාජ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Next is Crime Watch. A body of an individual has been recovered from a tea estate in Lokupotagama, Badulla. According to the police, the deceased individual had gone missing since the 27th of February and a relative had lodged a complaint at the Badulla police. The Badulla police is conducting further investigations on the incident. The Department of Wildlife officials and area residents in Nidanwala, Pulonnarwa succeeded in rescuing an elephant that had fallen into an agrarian well.
The elephant had fallen into a well that provides drinking water for people in the area and was rescued following a tedious operation. According to reports, the elephant is around 15 years of age and had fallen into a 30 feet deep well. According to our correspondent, the elephant was later released into the Nidangwala Forest Reserve in the area.
The annual Kachathil feast is set to take place on the 3rd and 4th of March 2023 on the Kachathil island in the Sea of Sri Lanka. The annual Kachathil feast is set to take place on the 3rd and 4th of March 2023 on the Kachathil island. Kachathil is a small island belonging to Sri Lanka, located near the international maritime boundary line of Sri Lanka and India. The main mass of the annual feast will be conducted by the Bishop of Jaffna Diocese, Right Reverend Justin Jnanaprakasam. At the directives of Command of the Navy engaged in providing infrastructure facilities, installation of sanitary and drinking water facilities, temporary tents, roads, jetties as well as electricity in view of the annual feast. Around 8,000 Indian and Sri Lankan devotees are expected to participate in the annual Kachathil feast. Taking a look at news overseas now, Indian multi-billionaire Gautam Adani's embattled business empire says it has secured $1.87 billion of investment from a US-based asset management firm. Adani told investors that Florida-headquartered GQG Partners had bought shares in 4 of the group's companies. It marks the first major investment made public by the firm since it was accused of engaging in stock market manipulation and financial fraud by short seller Hindenburg Research. Adani Group's 7 stock market-listed companies had an estimated $135 billion wiped off their value since Hindenburg Research's report was published on the 24th of January. The GQG investment will be split across 4 Adani companies, including flagship firm Adani Enterprises. Adani Group's chief financial officer said, quote, "This transaction marks the continued confidence of global investors in the governance, management practices and the growth of Adani portfolio of companies," unquote. He further added, quote, "We value GQG's role as a strategic investor in our infrastructure and utility portfolio of sustained energy, logistics and energy transition," unquote.
The group has always been in compliance with all laws, regardless of jurisdiction, and maintains the highest standard of corporate governance.
On to other news overseas now. India's G20 meeting ended without consensus on Russia's and Ukraine's war. A meeting of the Group of 20 has ended without a consensus on the Ukraine war as China joined Russia in refusing to support a demand for Moscow to cease hostilities. Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar said there were divergences that could not be reconciled as, quote, "various parties held different views," unquote. He added that members of the G20, a group of the world's largest economies, agreed on most issues involving the concerns of less developed nations, quote, like strengthening multilateralism, promoting food and energy security, climate change, gender issues and counter-terrorism, unquote. In a video addressed to the assembled foreign ministers, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged members not to allow current tensions to destroy agreements that might be reached on food and energy security, climate change and debt.
We also have a responsibility toward those who are not in this room.
Now to the sports front. Sri Lanka's Lushan Pushparaj came in 4th place at the Arnold Classic 2023 bodybuilding competition held in Columbus, Ohio. Lushan Pushparaj competed in the super heavyweight category in the championship in Ohio. Pushparaj was the only Sri Lankan athlete to have qualified for the Arnold Classic and was placed 4th at the last edition. Lushan Pushparaj came in 4th place at the Arnold Classic 2022 bodybuilding competition as well. The winner of the Mr. Sri Lanka title since 2012, Pushparaj has registered victories at Asian and global level competitions. The Arnold Sports Festival is one of the largest multi-sport events in the world, bringing together over 10,000 athletes, more than 100,000 visitors from more than 80 countries to the city of Columbus. The festival is named after its co-founder Arnold Schwarzenegger, the legendary bodybuilder turned Hollywood star turned politician. Australia's convincing 9-wicket triumph over India in the 3rd Test has helped them book a place at this year's ICC World Test Championships final. But just who joins them in the decider remains wide open. Manus Labuschagne and Travis Head made a cakewalk of the 76-run chase as Australia defeated India by 9 wickets in the 3rd Test of the 4-match series. Ravichandran Ashwin struck early on Friday to dismiss Usman Khawaja, but India failed to maintain the pressure on the visitors. On Thursday, Nathan Lyon took 8 wickets as Australia bundled India out for 163 runs, getting a 76-run target.
First wicket, he is quite confident, and umpire Joe Wilson thinks. Oh, he goes again. His hand.
Cheteshwar Pujara top scored with 59, but Lyon's figures of 8 for 64 overshadowed the effort. In India's first innings, Lyon had scalped 3 wickets.
And Australia have won the 3rd Test match, a comprehensive victory here by 9 wickets.
That's all the news for now. Await the brief at 30 throughout the evening for more news in brief. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit signing off. Have a peaceful day.